everybody, welcome to this course. My name is Gaia and I will be your instructor throughout all of these lessons. Now, this is a course all about the most common phrasal verbs we use in English. Obviously, phrasal verbs are verbs that we use in our everyday language, and they are a part of our colloquial language, which means our natural way of speaking English. Being able to use phrasal verbs correctly and appropriately will enable you to become more native when you speak the language and be able to have a greater understanding of the language when you're having conversations with other people. This course is completely based around active learning. So you're not just memorizing phrasal verbs, but you are going to be understanding the exact situation, the exact appropriate situation when to use these verbs and how to pronounce them correctly. Actively learning about pronunciation, that is physically having to speak out loud while you complete this course, is what is going to help you improve your confidence and your fluency. You are going to become used to using these verbs right here in this course. So when you find yourself in the situation where you are speaking to other people in English, using these phrasal verbs won't seem so difficult or so new because you have already had all the practice that you need right here in this course. Phrasal verbs about travel. Okay, so in this section, you are going to be learning some of the most common phrasal verbs you can use in English conversation when you're traveling or when you're talking about travel. Now, being able to do this not only enables you to sound more native, but it will also help your understanding of the English language, because us native speakers, when speaking English, we are constantly using phrasal verbs. So when you find yourself overseas or talking about holidays, being able to understand these words and use them will bring your conversation to the next level. Now, as you're making your way through this section, please do not ignore the quizzes and exercises. They are there on purpose. They have a purpose, and they will help you memorize the phrasal verbs better and use them better, because they teach you how to use the phrasal verbs accurately in sentences. So you construct your sentences in a grammatically correct way. See off. See off. Now, the phrasal verb see off is used in a situation when we want to say goodbyes to somebody at an airport, at a train station, who is going to another country. Maybe they are going for a holiday, for work purposes, for a short trip with the family. But we use to see off to explain that we are saying goodbye to somebody who is or leaving the country or leaving the city. Let me give you some examples. Now, in the present, we can say, I see off my friend every year when she leaves for Barcelona. In the past, we can say, I saw off my mum last year who went to London. And in the future, we can say, next week, I will see off my best friend who is going to Dubai for a work trip. And for the future, we can say, next week, I will see off my best friend who is going to Dubai for a work trip. See off. Hold up. Hold up. Now, hold up is a phrasal verb that we use to describe when something is delayed when we're traveling. So you know how it can often happen that maybe because of the weather, maybe because things aren't completely organized that well, a bus can be delayed, our flight may be delayed, meaning that it is 5 minutes behind schedule and we need to wait. To talk about this situation, we can use the phrasal verb hold up. An example in the present can be, don't hold up the aeroplane. Hurry up, we are in a rush. In the past, we can say, last week I was held up at the airport for 20 minutes. Or in the future, we can say there will be a hold up of 20 minutes if the plane does not arrive on time. hold up. Take off. Take off. Now, the phrasal verb take off we use to talk about the moment a plane departs. You know that moment when you are sitting on the plane and all of a sudden it shoots up and you feel your whole body going backwards and it just shoots into the air? This is called take off. Now, an example in the present can be, my favorite part of flying in an aeroplane is take off. Or in the past, we can say, yesterday the plane took off at 5 o'clock. In the future, we can say, the plane will take off at 5 p.m. sharp Sunday morning. Take off. Get away. Get away. Now, to get away is to go on a holiday, a trip, a vacation, anywhere away from your home. Let's have a look at an example in the present. My family likes to get away twice a year. They are very lucky and they like to get away twice a year. One time they go to the beach and the other time they like to go to the mountains. In the past, we can say, last year I got away for a short trip in the middle of the year and I went to London for 4 days with my family. In the future, we can say, I will get away next month just for the weekend because there is a public holiday in Italy and I have a few days off. Get away. Pick up. Pick up. Now, pick up is a phrasal verb we use when we let somebody in our car and we take them to a particular place or destination. Pick up. Let me give you an example in the present. Every time my best friend goes to Dubai, I pick her up from home and I take her to the airport. An example in the past can be, last night I picked up my dad from the airport and I took him to his hotel. Or in the future we can say, I'm going to pick up my family from the train station tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. To pick up. Stop over. Stop over. Now, stop over is a phrasal verb we use when we spend a short amount of time in a particular place, in a city or in a country. We generally use this phrasal verb when we are talking about a trip and we may have decided to go to one particular country for the trip, but on our way to going or to traveling to that country, we would like to stop and spend a short amount of time in another country or even in another city. Stop over. Let me give you an example in the present. Every time I travel to Italy, I stop over in Dubai for a few days because I absolutely love their beaches. In the past, we can say, I stopped over in Hong Kong when I was traveling to Asia. I stayed there for about 2 days just to do some sightseeing in the city. In the future, we can say, I will stop over in Rome as I travel to Spain because I've never been to Rome before and I want to spend a few days to have a look at the historical attractions, in particular the Colosseum. Stop over. Pack in. Pack in. Now, pack in is a phrasal verb we use to describe being able to do many things when we are on a holiday. If you can think that when you are on a holiday, generally you don't have that much time to see everything. Countries are really big. So you try to organize your time as effectively as possible to see all of the main attractions in that particular country. To describe this situation, we can use the phrasal verb pack in. Let me give you an example. In the present, I can say, every time I plan a trip, I try to pack in as many things as I can because I always want to see as much of a city and as much of a country as possible. In the past, we can say, we were only in India for a week, but we packed in heaps of things and I got to see pretty much the whole city. In the future, we can say, I will pack in as much as possible when I go to Spain next month. To pack in. Okay guys, so now we are going to move on to our dictation. I would like you to get a pen and paper, and I am going to be reading a small paragraph to you in English that uses all of the phrasal verbs you have learned in this section. While doing the dictation, if there is a word that you don't hear properly or you're unable to write, it's not a problem. Just leave a space and continue on with the dictation. At the end of this lesson, you will have a chance to correct your answers as the dictation will be attached in this lesson. Let's get started. Yesterday, I went to my friend's house. To pick her up and take her to the airport. After working really hard for 6 months straight, she decided she was well in need of a little getaway. She has planned to go to London for 4 days. With a stopover in Rome because she wants to have a look around the historical centre. She is so enthusiastic about her trip that she has decided to pack in a ridiculous amount of things to do. We arrived at the airport at 7 p.m. And to be honest, I was a little sad to see her off. She was supposed to arrive in Rome this morning at 10 a.m. but her flight was delayed and she didn't take off until this morning. Poor thing, she's still at the airport. Poor thing, she was held up more than 4 hours. The shadow technique. It is time to practice and master your pronunciation. In this lesson, guys, you are going to hear me pronounce all of the phrasal verbs you have learned in this section. Now, you will hear me pronounce each phrasal verb twice, and in between each pronunciation of the word, there will be a pause. In that pause, it is your job to speak out loud and actually repeat the word that you hear. Now, your goal is to try to copy the way I say each of these phrasal verbs. I want you to copy my pronunciation, my word stress, so think about the syllables of the word and which syllables I stress, and the intonation of my voice. Does my voice go high or does my voice drop down? After pronouncing the phrasal verb twice, you will then hear me say a sentence where the phrasal verb will be used. I will say this sentence once, and after I do, I want you to repeat the sentence out loud again and again, concentrating on copying my pronunciation, my intonation, and my rhythm. Let's get started. See off. See off. I went to the airport to see off my best friend. Hold up. Hold up. The train was late and we were held up 20 minutes. Take off. Take off. My favorite part of flying is takeoff. Get away. Get away. I have a getaway every year at summertime. I have a getaway every year in summer. Pick up. Pick up. I will pick you up from the airport at 5 p.m. Stop over. Stop over. I would like to stop over in London for a few days. Pack in. Pack in. We were only there a week, but we packed in a lot. Phrasal verbs about hobbies. In this section, guys, you are going to be learning the most commonly used phrasal verbs when we talk about our hobbies. So our hobbies being the things that we like to do in our free time, maybe dancing, playing football, cooking. These are our hobbies, our leisure activities. Now, obviously, learning the most common phrasal verbs about your hobbies is critically important because when we have a socializing conversation in English, we tend to talk about the things we like and we do regularly. These are our hobbies. So it's very important you guys know how to use phrasal verbs correctly when talking about this particular topic. Again, please remember that in this section, as well as these videos, there will also be quizzes and exercises, and I urge you to complete them. They are there to help you memorize all of the content and understand everything much better. Take up. Take up. Now, to take up something is to start something new. And we generally use it when we are talking about our hobbies. So when you begin a new hobby or you begin a new area of interest, take up. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, every month I like to take up a new hobby. I have lots of hobbies and I can't choose, so I take up a new one each month. In the past, we can say, when I was 10, I took up dancing for 1 year. It was great and I loved it. In the future, we can say, I will take up cooking classes next month. I am so excited because it's a hobby I have wanted to do for such a long time. Take up. Join in. Join in. Now, the phrasal verb join in means to participate or be involved in a particular activity, maybe a sport, a class, a membership program. It's generally when there are other people involved and you include yourself in that activity. Let's have a look at an example in the present. I recently became a part of a football team. And last Monday at training, the team asked me to join in for the very first time in one of the matches. In the past, we can say, yesterday at basketball practice, I joined in for the very first time when the team was doing their exercise program. A future example, we can say, next team, my team will play the state finals and I will join in. Join in. Get into. Get into. Now, the phrasal verb get into means to become interested or passionate or enthusiastic about a particular interest or a hobby. It implies that you have just begun this hobby and you are starting or you're in the process of becoming interested in it. Let me give you some examples. In the present, we can say, I get into new things that are very physical and active because I like playing sport. They help me relax and they give me lots of energy. In the past, we could say, I got into running every day when I lived by the beach. I woke up at 5 o'clock every morning and I ran every single day. In the future, we can say, at the moment, I'm not into anything, but I will get into something that I'm really passionate about. And if I'm passionate about it, it means that I will become extremely dedicated in doing it. Get into. Give up. Give up. Now, the phrasal verb give up, we use when we want to express that we have stopped doing a particular hobby, or we have quit doing a hobby. Maybe it was too difficult, maybe you didn't have enough time, or maybe you just didn't like the hobby anymore. So we use the phrasal verb give up to express this. Let's have a look at an example in the present. I love hobbies. I actually start a new hobby every month. The only problem is that I give up after just 1 week because I get bored and I just can't find the motivation to continue doing the hobby. In the past, we can say, for example, I gave up playing basketball last year because it was really hard to juggle the time I had with my family with the sport. I didn't have all the time I wanted to go to all of the training programs and to play every Saturday morning, so I gave up. In the future, we can say, for example, I will only give up dancing if I cannot find the time to do it. At the moment, I can still attend all the lessons, so I'm not going to give up. But in the future, I will give up only if I can't find the time to attend the classes. Give up. Chill out. Chill out. Now, the phrasal verb chill out we use when we say that we relax doing something that we love. Okay, so think about the things that you love, the things that you wait all day to be able to do when you come home from work or when you have a minute to yourself. And in that particular situation, you can use the phrasal verb to chill out. Now, generally, people like to chill out when they're listening to music or cooking or doing meditation. When you relax your mind, take a few big deep breaths and you recharge your energy. Chill out. Let me give you some examples. Now, in the present, we can say, I like to chill out for 5 minutes every day when I sit down in a quiet area, take a few deep breaths and do some meditation. In the past, we can say, yesterday I chilled out all day. It was the best day because I had a day off work and I was able just to lounge around at home, listen to music and cook. I chilled out for the whole day. In the future, we can say, tomorrow I am going to chill out with my friends. We are going to go to a concert and listen to some really nice music that I absolutely love. We're just going to chill out together. Chill out. Be into. Be into. Now, be into is a phrasal verb to say that you are completely and utterly interested in something or even in a particular hobby. Now, before I go into detail with examples, I just want to explain something grammatically to you. Be needs to be conjugated depending on the person. Okay, so we can say am into, is into, are into. It depends on the subject. Okay, it is the verb to be and it must be conjugated depending on the subject we are talking about. Let me give you some examples. So in the present, I can say, I am into watching classical old movies. I absolutely love them. I started watching these movies with my mum when I was a little girl and I am still into watching these movies. An example in the past can be, I was into rollerblading when I was 10. I was completely obsessed with the sport and I used to do it every single day. Now, in the future, we can use this phrasal verb, but it's generally not used because when we talk about being interested in something, or we talk about it in the present, or we talk about it in the past. We don't generally make a prediction about the things we might or may be interested in. So the phrasal verb we learned is be into. Keep up. Keep up. Now, the phrasal verb keep up we use when we want to say to continue doing a particular action. So in this case, because we're talking about hobbies and our interests, we want to talk about particular hobbies and interests that we continue to do or continue to be interested in. We maintain this hobby and interest by doing particular actions that enables us to continue doing them. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, I am trying to keep up with my basketball practice now that I have children. It's a little bit difficult to juggle the two, but I'm doing my best to keep up with this sport. In the past, I can say, When I was 10, I kept up with singing for 2 years. I was so proud of myself because it was the longest hobby that I had ever had. And in the future, we can say, for example, I made a promise to myself that I will keep up running every morning at 5 o'clock. I know it's going to be difficult, but it's really going to benefit my health. Keep up. It's time for our dictation. Guys, get ready with a pen and paper, as I am going to read a short paragraph using the phrasal verbs we have learned in this section. Again, don't worry if you're not able to understand every single word. At the end of the dictation, you will have the chance to correct your mistakes. Let's get started. In the past, I have always tried. To keep up with hobbies I was passionate about. But it can be hard sometimes, especially when I work a lot. So often I find myself giving up. A new hobby I take up just after a few weeks. At the moment, I am into cycling. Because it's a great way to chill out on the weekends. I am also getting into baking with my children. Which my children love. Because they can join in and help me cook. Let's move on to our shadow technique. It's time to master your pronunciation with all the new phrasal verbs you have learnt in this section. Now, the instructions, in case you don't remember them from the previous section, I will be repeating each phrasal verb twice. In between each pronunciation of the phrasal verb, there is a short pause, and that is where you, out loud, are going to be repeating the phrasal verb I say. Bear in mind to try to copy my pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. I will then be using the phrasal verb in an example sentence, and I want you to repeat that example sentence, again trying to copy my pronunciation. Let's get started. Take up. Take up. I want to take up dancing. Join in. Join in. The new football team asked me to join in. Get into. Get into. I am getting into studying English. Give up. Give up. I used to play basketball, but I gave it up last year. Chill out. Chill out. I like to chill out listening to music. Be into. Be into. I'm into martial arts. Keep up. Keep up. I'm trying to keep up my basketball practice. Phrasal verbs about work. In this section, guys, you are going to be learning all about the most common phrasal verbs that you can use in the workplace. Maybe you've heard the term business phrasal verbs. It's the same thing. Now, these phrasal verbs are fantastic for anybody who is working in an English-speaking environment or who is planning to go and work in an English-speaking environment. They are phrasal verbs that we use every day in the business context, and they will enable you to have better conversations with your colleagues and understand the workplace dynamic a little bit better. Note down. Note down. The phrasal verb note down means to write. When you write something on a piece of paper, to note down. Now, this is obviously typically used when you want to tell somebody that you want to write something down, or you want to tell somebody to note something down. Let's have a look at a few examples. So in the present, you can say, can you speak a little bit slower? I just want to note down the most important things you're saying so I can look back and read them after. In the past, we can say, at yesterday's meeting, I noted down all of the key points. It was a really interesting and beneficial meeting, and some of the things said I thought I could really apply to the way I work. So I noted everything down in my notebook. Now, in the future, you can say something like, at tomorrow's meeting, guys, I want everyone to note down all of the key points because they will be things that we will be looking at again in the future and you would need to remember. So please note everything down from tomorrow's meeting. To note down simply means to write something down. Carry out. Carry out. Now, the phrasal verb carry out means to perform or conduct something. Maybe it is a particular activity or a project, a meeting, a seminar, a conference, but it means to act in this situation. Let's have a look at some main examples. So in the present, I can say, every Monday I carry out staff meetings. I like to do it at the beginning of the week because it really gets the motivation up and going in my team. It helps people maintain their focus and it gets everybody really enthusiastic about working. So I carry out weekly staff meetings. In the past, you could say something like, when I was working in London, I carried out multiple projects, and in these projects, I was able to work internationally, which was a great opportunity for my career. An example in the future can be, I'm going to be carrying out 5 seminars next month in regards to leadership. Now, these seminars are designed to teach you the main leadership skills so you're able to apply them in your workplace. Carry out. Come up. Come up. Now, the phrasal verb come up we use to describe a situation that occurs suddenly without warning, when something arises out of the blue without us being able to predict or understand that this was going to happen. Come up. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, you can say, every Tuesday afternoon, I try to make time to study the updates in my company, but something always comes up that stops me. Last week it was a meeting. The other day it was a phone call from my daughter. Something always comes up suddenly and it stops me from being able to study these updates. An example in the past can be, Yesterday, I was supposed to have a conference call with our international clients, but something came up and they cancelled last minute. I'm not sure why, they didn't tell me, but they said it was a sudden thing and they apologized immensely. Now, an example for the future can be, we will be having our conference call tomorrow morning. Everything should be fine and all members will be attending unless something unexpectedly comes up and we're not able to do the meeting. Come up. Get on. Get on. Now, the phrasal verb get on means to make progress in something. So think of a particular action or something that you need to do that takes a little bit of time. If we use the phrasal verb get on to describe this action, it means that we are in the process of doing something and we're not finished yet, but we are working towards being finished. We are making progress in doing something. So in the present, we can say, for example, I'm getting on really well with this new project. I haven't finished yet, but I am working on it every day and I'm making some great progress. So I'm getting on really well with the project. In the past, for example, we can say, last year I was working on 5 projects at the same time. It was quite difficult, but in the end, I managed to get on well with the projects and I made my way through them step by step and I was able to finish them in the end. In the future, we can say, if you give me the time to work on this project, I will be able to get on with it. But if I keep having to do meetings and answer the phone, I'm not going to be able to get on with the project. Get on. Call off. Call off. Call off is a phrasal verb we use quite simply to mean cancel something. So if you have something organized or somebody organized something and they are no longer able to keep that commitment, they obviously cancel the commitment, you can use the phrasal verb call off to explain this situation. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, you can say, for example, every Friday I try to get my team together for a mini evaluation, but generally it gets called off because Friday is the last day of the week. Everyone is quite busy and tired and no one seems to have the time to wait a few minutes in order to be able to do the evaluation. Now, in the past, we could say, yesterday's meeting got called off because there was terrible weather and everybody was stuck in traffic. And in the future, we can say, I've decided that I will call off tomorrow's seminar. We don't have enough people attending and we are going to wait for the next week when everybody is back to work. Call off. Sort out. Sort out. Sort out is a phrasal verb we use to say organize or plan something. To sort out. So think about when maybe you are organizing paperwork, your emails, your office reports, and you have lots of things that may be messy or out of order. Well, you can use the phrasal verb sort out to say that you are going to tidy these things up. Put them in a particular order so they're easier to find or easier to understand. Let's have a look at some examples. Now, in the present, I can say, every Monday morning, I like to sort out my emails. I get so many emails during the week. They can become so confusing. So I like to start my week by sorting out my emails. In the past, I can say, when I worked for the software company, it was my responsibility to sort out all of the reports we did. The company did many reports and everything was done on paper, so there was a lot to sort out. In the future, we can say, tomorrow I promise I will sort out your emails. I know that they're very overwhelming and you have a lot, so I will sort them out for you. Sort out. Let's move on to our dictation. So get your pen and paper ready. You are going to hear me read a short paragraph using all of the phrasal verbs you have learned in this section. Again, if you're not able to write all of the words down, it's not a problem. At the end, you will have a chance to correct your mistakes. I start my work week by always sorting out any leftover reports or files. This really helps me get on with my day in a productive way. In the afternoon, I usually have a few conference calls. That come up out of the blue. If I'm able, I try to call them off. But it's not always possible. So I do my best to carry out the rest of my tasks. Because my job demands a lot of attention, I make sure to note everything down. So that I avoid forgetting anything. Now, moving on to our shadow technique. Remember guys, in this lesson, I want you to be trying to copy my exact pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm of my voice. This is the way you guys are going to sound as native as possible. We're going to be looking at all the phrasal verbs we studied in this section. I'm going to repeat each phrasal verb twice, give you an example, and you are going to talk out loud and copy me. Let's get started. Note down. Note down. I have to note down a few things in the meeting. Carry out. Carry out. I carry out team meetings every Monday. Come up. Come up. I can't attend the conference call this afternoon. Something's come up. Get on. Get on. How did you get on with the projects yesterday? Call off. Call off. I have to call off tomorrow's meeting. Sort out. Sort out. I need to sort out my emails. Phrasal verbs for socializing. Okay, in this section, you will be learning the key phrasal verbs for social settings. That is, when you are out with friends, talking to colleagues, not in a professional context, but in a social context. We use these phrasal verbs to make or maintain conversation, and they are extremely important for you guys because they are going to enhance your conversation skills and your listening skills. So you're going to be able to understand what people are talking about a lot easier, which is really going to increase your confidence. So in this section, you're going to be learning the main phrasal verbs for socializing. Hang out. Hang out. Now, the phrasal verb hang out we use to say spend time with somebody or spend time somewhere at a particular place or venue. Now, this phrasal verb is one of the most commonly used phrasal verbs when we're talking about socializing, when we're talking to our friends or family, and we use it in every single one of our conversations. Let's have a look at some examples. So, every Monday I hang out with my best friend. We like to go out for dinner together and then we go and watch a movie. In the past, we can say, when I was a child, I would always hang out at the shopping center. It was really close to my school, so every day after school, me and my friends would go there and we would hang out and just relax together. For the future, we can say, on Saturday, I'm going to just hang out with my family. I don't want to do anything special. We're just decided to stay at home and spend some quality time together. Hang out. Ask over. Ask over. Now, ask over is a particular phrasal verb because we need to put our subject in the middle of the phrasal verb. So it will be ask, subject, over. For example, ask someone over. Ask my mum over. We need to split the phrasal verb and put our subject directly in the middle. Now, we use this phrasal verb when we invite somebody to our house or apartment. Generally, maybe like just for dinner, to watch a movie, to hang out together. Ask over. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, you can say, every Monday, I ask my best friend over and we have dinner together. It's just a small catch up at the beginning of the week, nothing special, but it's really nice to spend time together. Now, in the past, we could say, for example, I asked my best friend over last night. She had my iPad and I needed her to give it back to me. So I asked her over so she could bring it back to me. And in the future, for example, we can say, I will ask my family over for dinner on Sunday night. It's a long time since we have a dinner together and I would really like to cook for them. Ask over. Pop in. Pop in. Now, pop in is a phrasal verb that we use to briefly visit a place or a location or somebody's house. It could be in order to visit somebody, it could be in order just to do something at this particular location, but it's important to remember that it's just for a brief period of time. Let's have a look at some examples. So, my next door neighbor pops in every now and again to say hello to me and my daughter. Or in the past, I can say, my mum popped in yesterday for a quick visit. She made a really nice cake. It was a new recipe, so she popped in so we could try it. Or in the future, tomorrow I will pop into the shopping center. I need to quickly buy a few items, but I don't have too much time. So I'm just gonna pop in for a quick visit. Pop in. Meet up. Now, the phrasal verb meet up means to see somebody at a particular time or a particular location. Generally, we use this phrasal verb when we are trying to organize to see friends or family, and we use this in the organization of where we're going to meet and at what time we're going to meet. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, I meet up with my boyfriend every day after work. Or in the past, we can say, I met up with my friends after work for a quick drink. Or even for the future, we can say, I will meet up with my friend tomorrow after work so that we can go to the shopping center and do a little bit of quick shopping. Meet up. Bring over. Bring over. Now, bring over is a phrasal verb we use when we want to say that we have asked someone or we're telling somebody to bring a particular item to our house or our apartment, or when we want to say that we will bring a particular item to somebody's house or apartment. Generally, we use this when we've organized a dinner or a meetup with friends or family, and we want to let them know that we will bring something to contribute to this meeting. For example, is there anything I can bring over for the dinner tonight? Would you like me to make a salad or a cake or even bring over a bottle of wine? In the past, I can say, I brought over my friend's iPad to her the other night. She had been asking for it for so long and I completely forgot I had borrowed it. So I brought it over to her house the other night. Now in the future, I can say, yes, don't worry, I will bring your iPad over to your house tomorrow night. I haven't forgot and I've already put it in my bag. Bring over. Drop in. Drop in. Now, the phrasal verb drop in we use when you unexpectedly visit somebody at their house or at a particular location, or somebody unexpectedly comes to visit you. Let's have a look at some examples. For example, in the present, I can say, I dropped in just to see if she was feeling better. She didn't come to work and she said she was feeling pretty unwell, so I was a little bit worried. So I dropped in just to see if she was feeling okay. An example in the past could be, yesterday I dropped in to see if my best friend was feeling better. She had been complaining of a headache for a few days, so I wanted to drop in to see if I could help her or she needed any medicine. And in the future, for example, we can say, I will drop in tomorrow after work at 5 o'clock and see if you need anything. Let me know in the meantime if I can get you anything on my way home from work. Drop in. Catch up. Catch up. Now, the phrasal verb catch up means to meet with somebody that you haven't seen in a little while, so not a really long amount of time, even though it could be that, but even like a short amount of time. And you share news about each other's lives, what's been going on, work, life, friends, etc. Let's have a look at some examples. So, I like to catch up with my friends at least once a week. We're really busy now that we're working full time, so more than that is a bit difficult. So we try to catch up at least once a week. In the past, we can say, I caught up with my friends last week. We all went out for a movie together and we had a really lovely time. In the future, we can say, for example, I will catch up with my friends next Monday. We have organized to go to a new sushi restaurant and we are all really looking forward to the dinner. Catch up. It's dictation time, so get out your pen and paper and I'm going to read a short paragraph using the phrasal verbs you have learned in this section. Again, at the end of this dictation, you have an opportunity to correct your answers. Let's get started. Last weekend, I popped into the shopping center. To hang out with my friends. We met up at around 10 a.m. just for a quick shop and catch up. Because we hadn't seen each other for a while. In the evening, I had a dinner with my family. And my mum brought over a new tablecloth for my kitchen. Usually my family just drops in for a visit. But this time I asked them over. But this time I asked them over. Because I wanted to cook them a special dinner. All right, let's move straight into our shadow technique and practice our pronunciation. Here are the phrasal verbs that we have studied in this section. Hang out. Hang out. I like to hang out with my friends at the weekend. Ask over. Ask over. I asked my mum over last night for dinner. Pop in. Pop in. After work, I will pop in to the supermarket. Meet up. Meet up. Let's meet up at around 7 o'clock. Bring over. Bring over. Can you bring over my iPad tonight? Drop in. Drop in. My friend sometimes drops in for a visit. Catch up. Catch up. It's nice to catch up with old friends. The most commonly used phrasal verbs. In this section, you are going to be learning a mix of the most commonly used phrasal verbs in English conversation. Now, these phrasal verbs are not in a specific category except for the fact that we literally use them every single day. So that is enough to make you understand that you must learn how and when to use them appropriately. Now, I just want to remind you to please complete and obviously do the exercises and quizzes in this section. They are there to help you and they will help you memorize these phrasal verbs so much better. Enjoy. Bring up. Bring up. Now, to bring up means to mention something, to say something in conversation when we are talking to somebody. anything. It could be a particular topic, a situation, an event that happened. It is to mention something in a conversation. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, don't bring up the fact that she isn't working tomorrow. She didn't tell her boss, so it's best not to talk about it. In the past, we can say, for example, yesterday when I was talking to my colleague, I accidentally brought up the fact of the surprise office party for her birthday and I spoiled the surprise. She wasn't too disappointed. She was actually pretty happy that we had planned a surprise, but I wasn't supposed to bring it up in conversation. In the future, we can say, look, I will try not to talk about it, but if it does come up in conversation, I will bring up the situation so that we can try to resolve it and move on from this particular situation. Bring up. Fill out. Fill out. Now, this phrasal verb is extremely common and you will have seen it everywhere, especially if you're applying for any particular IDs, passport, needing to hand in any important documents. You will have seen on a piece of paper the words fill out or have been told these words by the person giving you the documents. To fill out means to fill information in a certain section on a document. Let me give you some examples. So in the present, I can say, every time I need to reapply for university, I must fill out a form with my personal details as well as my contact details. In the past, for example, we can say, yesterday I went to the bank and I filled out a particular form in order to open a new bank account. Or for the future, I can say, if you want a passport, you will have to fill out this document with all of the specified personal information. Fill out. Give back. Give back. Now, to give back is to return something to somebody. Doesn't necessarily have to be theirs what we're returning, but it's to return something back that we have taken from somebody or even from a particular place. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, you must give back everything you borrow from somebody else. It's lovely that somebody lends something to you, but it's your responsibility to give back what is lent in order to be respectful. In the past, I can say, the teacher gave back my homework. I was really nervous to see the results, but I actually did pretty well and I almost got all of the answers right. In the future, I can say, I will give back your essays next month. I know it's a little while to wait, but we have many essays to correct and I won't be able to give them back to you until the following month. Give back. Look over. Look over. Now, look over is a phrasal verb that we use meaning to examine and to check something to make sure there are no mistakes or nothing that has been done incorrectly. Look over. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, before I hand in my homework, I always look over what I have written to make sure there are no mistakes. Sometimes I write really fast and I skip mistakes, so I always look over at the very end just before I hand it in. In the past, for example, I can say, when I did my IELTS writing test, I looked over the essay 3 times before I was satisfied with what I had written. I was pretty nervous and I really didn't want to make any mistakes. In the future, I can say, if you leave your essays on my desk, I will look over them and I'll give you some feedback tomorrow. Look over. Point out. Point out. So to point out means to bring attention to something. maybe it is a situation, maybe it's to bring attention to something somebody has said or hasn't said, or even to point out something that you can see. But in essence, it means to bring attention or bring light to something. Let's have a look at some examples. So in the present, I can say, when I'm teaching my students English, I like to point out that they should be confident and fluent regardless if they are scared to speak English, because it's normal to make mistakes, and the only way you will feel confident and fluent is you learn to love your mistakes. So I try to point out this fact to them. In the past, I can say, for example, my teacher pointed out several of my mistakes. I didn't see them at first, but after she pointed them out to me, I was able to understand where I went wrong and how to improve my errors. In the future, for example, I can say, I will point out your mistakes in pronunciation and try to help you overcome them and give you some techniques to improve your pronunciation. Point out. Try out. Try out. Now, to try out is a phrasal verb that means to test something. Generally, we use it when we're trying something for the first time and we are not 100% convinced about how it works and if it is right for us, if we need to get something different or to do something differently. Try out. So we can use this when we're talking about cars, when we're talking about software, when we're talking about courses even, for example. Let me give you an example. In the present, I can say, I'm looking for a new car at the moment, but there are so many models to choose from. So I am trying out some new cars to see which car is the best car for me. In the past, for example, I can say, before buying the car I have now, I tried out 5 different cars. It was so hard for me to make a decision, but after the 5th car, I knew exactly which car I wanted. And for the future, I can say, I really want to study English, but I'm not sure which is the best method for me. So I will try out a few different methods of studying English to see which one works for me. Then, once I make my choice, I will go ahead and learn English in that particular way. Try out. Use up. Use up. Now, the phrasal verb use up means to completely consume something so that there is nothing left at all. Let's look at some examples. Now, in the present, I can say, my colleagues at work use up all the milk every morning. By the time I get to work at 8 o'clock, there is no milk left at all to make my coffee. And it's really frustrating. In the past, for example, I can say, I'm so sorry. I used up all the milk this morning and I completely forgot to leave you some. We're going to have to buy some more milk if you want to make a coffee. And in the future, I can say, tomorrow morning, I'm going to use up all the milk at work. I'm sick and tired of everybody doing it to me. So tomorrow, I will use up all the milk at work. Use up. Let's move on to our dictation. So get your pen and paper ready, guys, as I am going to read a short paragraph using all of the phrasal verbs you learned in this section. Let's get started. Last Monday, I went to the city council. To fill out a form for a new identity card. I already had an identity card. But I wanted to try out a new one. because the one I had wasn't accepted everywhere. When I handed in the form, the lady looked over it and pointed out that I had forgotten to include my contact details. She gave me back the form to fill out, but as I tried, my pen stopped working. I think I must have used up all the ink. I had to ask for another pen. And as I did, the lady brought up the fact that the pens in her office didn't work well. Okay guys, it's time for our shadow technique and to practice our pronunciation of all the new verbs you learnt in this section. Let's get started. Bring up. Bring up. Don't bring up the fight she had yesterday. Fill out. Fill out. Can you please fill out this form? Give back. Give back. Can you give the student back his pen? Look over. Look over. I always look over my work before I hand it in. Point out. Point out. I tried not to point out her mistakes. Try out. Try out. You should try out a new car. Use up. Use up. Please don't use up all the milk. Okay guys, that is the end of this course. Thank you very much for participating and congratulations that you made it to the end. I'm sure that all of you have watched all the videos and completed all the exercises and quizzes, but if you haven't done it yet, make sure you do it because It's what's going to help you really learn everything you've watched so much better. Now, if any of you are after any further learning, you can go ahead and check out my website where I also teach English privately through Skype if you want to do some personalized lessons in regards to phrasal verbs or English conversation. And feel free to join my Facebook community where I post weekly and we just share lots of English advice, tips, and better ways to enjoy the English language. Thanks again for your participation, guys, and good luck with learning English.